Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you doing well and doing better than I am. As you might be able to hear, I'm still dealing with this virus cold that I got. I work this job where we touch a lot of common surfaces, and it's not always possible, especially when you're working in retail, to go wash your hands every second. And so, of course, things are going to um, affect people, and that's just the way it is, especially this time of year as it gets a little colder, even here in Florida. So I just want to reflect on this whole concept that we had three hurricanes in 2 months, two hurricanes in 2 weeks, and I do not want this to sound like I am complaining, because I am so grateful to be alive compared to the stories that I've heard from other people and the things they've lost. I mean, they've lost everything. So many people here locally, and it's so sad. And I yet am processing this whole thing because many of us, I'm just a Midwestern girl. I'm just from Missouri. And I thought it was always cool to be here to escape tornadoes. I still have PTSD when I hear a tornado siren or something that sounds like it go off, because ever since kindergarten, from the Cold War era, where they would ring the same siren to hide under our desks because the Russians were attacking, or so we thought, or nuking us. Um, it's this fear that has been instilled in such an early age. And I thought that coming to Florida, I would be escaping all that. And it turns out we had more tornadoes from Hurricane Milton in one day. I think it was like a record 200 or something crazy like that. And there was the hurricane, one tornado was on the ground like for 2 hours or something insane. And just all of this intensity as climate change and global warming is rearing its ugly head, that basically, as I've said, we're all climate change refugees. And people are asking the question, well, where can you go? And there really is no place that is completely safe, where that doesn't have its risks. And the weather has been so wonderful here since Hurricane Milton left. But I got to tell you, we still have the hurricane windows up. And I mean, the hurricane the windows are still boarded up. And what you just saw is kind of like what we're referring to as hurricane brain. And this is so prevalent. And that's one of the other things I wanted to talk about. Um, last Thursday, because I feel like the hurricane came this close from destroying everything I own. Some of our neighbors got trees through the roofs, and then the rain poured in, and we didn't get flooded this time, although we did with the first one. Debbie, our home didn't get flooded. We just got surrounded by water, and we couldn't leave for a day or two. But basically, I view things now as, what would the hurricane have done to our home if the roof had gone, or if the water had come inside? It was just so close. And so now I am looking at everything in my home as if a hurricane would destroy it and take it away. And as a result, it's very freeing. And I am letting go of so many things. If I haven't worn them in a year, I mean, that's kind of the basics of don't sweat the small stuff, everything's small stuff, and cleansing and purging, being able to let go of things. If you haven't used it or worn it or touched it in a year, it's probably time to say goodbye. And I'm looking at everything I have with those glasses on now, and realizing that if the hurricane had come through and totally blown up the home, as many of us thought was going to happen with a Category 4 or 5 hurricane, it would have done that. And it was only a 3, only 120 miles an hour, right? If that had occurred, then so many of my possessions and things would have been destroyed or gone. So I'm figuring I might as well give some of it away, because there are so many people in need right now that if I'm not using it, then somebody else can. So I had prepared a big bag of stuff to take to the Women's Exchange, a really great place in our community that gives a lot of scholarships to kids, and they do so many wonderful things. So I went over there with the intention of just dropping stuff off. And when I went there, I took in one load, and then I had some more things in the trunk of my car, and the place to drop it off was a little bit of a distance. So I closed the trunk of my car, and inside the trunk were my keys and my phone. So for about 3 hours, I was without both of those things. And the volunteers there were very helpful. And I called my car version of AAA with Toyota Care, and they came after 2 more visits from other people whose keys they were unlocking. But the point being is that this hurricane brain, people are just spacing out like crazy. And I did talk to a professional about it, and he said, if you're like this in 2 months, then call me. But it is this processing of what we have been through and how close to death we came. Because I've talked to some of my neighbors, and we really did have this feeling that a Cat 4 or 5 hurricane would totally demolish our neighborhood. These homes were built in the 80s, and though they withstand, most of them withstood the 120-mile-an-hour winds, which weren't really constant, I don't think. I mean, it did sound like a freight train. That's what everybody says. We kind of joked about that when I was a TV reporter, when we would go hold the microphone in front of somebody. Oh, what was it like to be in the storm? Oh, it sounded like a freight train. I mean, we just made so light of that, not, of course, never having been in one, and realizing that, yes, that is what it sounds like. And I know there was a lot of wind, and my boyfriend just assured me that the roof, because he had worked in construction in high school, he understood that our roof was very solid. And even though it wasn't necessarily built to Hurricane Andrew standards with the L joints that come in on the rafters and make sure that it's not going anywhere, hopefully, that the roofs back in those days were built to last, and they have. So we didn't hear any creaking. My phone didn't wobble back and forth like it did when I was in hurricanes out on Anna Maria Island in 2004. That was the summer we had like 4 or 5 hurricanes, and it was crazy. No real direct hits, but some pretty strong winds and a lot of damage. Not the kind of damage that Anna Maria saw this time. It's just so sad. One of my neighbors sent me a video of my former home, and and processing all that places that we lived and played, and all of that's just gone, or it is destroyed in such a way it is unrecognizable. Even though I'm not physically there now, and I'm so glad that I'm not, it still is just hard to process all that. So one of the things that happened is, stress is such a promoter of illnesses and disease, and I think that's one reason that my cold is lingering so much. But I had a flare of my psoriatic arthritis, and I hardly ever get that. And because it was so devastating the first time I had it, and there it is. You wouldn't think, okay, Ellen, are you sure you didn't cut yourself with a knife? Yeah, I'm sure about that. It's right at the joint, and it's just sort of this sudden burst of pain and like that. And then on my palm, and if you look at Dr. Brooke Goldner's website, you'll see that my palms were all cracked and bleeding, but that little spot there, it was kind of crusty and starting to look kind of nasty a few days ago, and I just have been going back to not eating any junk food whatsoever and sticking to my 100 gallons, 100, a lot of water, like 2.5 of these, so 100 gallons, 100, yeah, is that right? No, a gallon. And there it is. There's the hurricane brain, not being able to focus on stuff that I know. So 100 ounces, 1 gallon, I think, of water, and just green smoothies all day long. So that was autoimmune disease condition number 1 that I pushed to the curb back in my Dr. Brooke Goldner days, and pushing that bad baby. So rarely do I see a flare like this. So that is very much an indicator that I am under stress, and I need to just meditate and let it go. And I am going to do that now. So just wanted to give you an update. And if you are suffering this spaciness, this inability to focus, hurricane brain, whatever you want to call it, post all these storms, know that you are not alone. It is a thing, and a lot of people are going through this. So just give it time, heal yourself, get outside, enjoy good weather if you can. We are very lucky to have that here. And I really hope that no more hurricanes are coming, but just in case, hurricane season ends officially November 30th, and I haven't seen one come quite that late, and hopefully none will. So we're going to put that out to the universe, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Gotta run. Oh, I wish I could.